I like, click, subscribe, do all that. You already know what time it is. It's Netflix time. This movie's called The Shadow of Violence. As he reconciles with his ex and their son, an enforcer for a crime family gets an order that tests his loyalty and endangers everyone he holds dear. So this movie came out last year. It's about an hour and 40 minutes long. Spoiler alert. Let's get it. This one just happens to be another Saban Films. Why is Saban Films sponsoring violence? Are we gonna see somebody from Power Rangers jumping out this bitch? Well, anyway, we got this guy named Doug. He used to be an ex-boxer. Apparently the reason he retired is because he accidentally killed somebody in the ring. This nigga's serious. So he goes in this random house, and he has to beat the shit out of this guy named Flanagan. And he fucks him up something terrible, too. Like, really, no joke. So the question we're left with, why did he beat the dog shit out of this guy and take his TV? Did he do it for his friend Duvernay? So they're located in Ireland. They belong to some type of mob family, I guess. Duvernay is the son of the father who ran this organization, who has now passed away. He's supposed to grow up to be the HNIC, you know, head nigga in charge. This evil bastard gets anything done by any means necessary. Yeah, he's a pretty fucked up individual. We'll get to him later. Well, the reason why Flanagan got fucked up was at this birthday party, he had got too wasted. So wasted that he crept into this girl named Charlie, went in under her sheets and had her way with her. She's part of the family and she was only 14 at the time. So that's the reason Duvernay had to get Doug to stomp Flanagan the fuck out. And rightfully so. Well, anyway, Doug and Duvernay come to the house the next day. They check on everybody, especially Charlie, to make sure that she's good. She don't want that TV bringing in. She probably thinks you stole it. After that, Doug dips out and goes over to his baby mother's house. And here we have Ursula, his baby mother. She's counting up expenditures and all that stuff for the house. Just chilling with her son Jack and all that. And she's like, he doesn't even watch TV. Like, why you bring the TV in the house? So apparently he hasn't been seeing his son like that because he's too busy hanging around the mob family and whatnot. He's not even in the family like that. He's mostly just a hired gun, or basically like a bodyguard. So because Jack is autistic, Ursula is asking Doug for a little bit more extra money so he can go to a special needs school. The school's supposed to be somewhere far from there, like Rochester Town or something like that, in Cork. I don't know exactly where it is. Well, anyway, he plugs the TV up and then Jack starts screaming. Yeah, his son can't handle loud noises out of nowhere. But before he leaves, he asks to take his son out for the day. He gets to play with him at the park for a little bit, but then he gets a call from Duvernay talking about they gotta meet up with Hector. Doug wants to drop his kid off back at the nanny's house, but Duvernay's like, look, we ain't got time to be driving all the way over there. Reluctantly, Doug takes him along for the ride. They stop by this little warehouse and leave him in the car. Really, just gonna leave your kid in the car, huh? Alright. Well, Hector gets the news from the dude Paulie, the crazy looking nigga from earlier. Said it wasn't good enough for Flanagan to get stomped out. Now they want him just flat out dead. Duvernay's like, come on, man, that's not what we do, yo. Then he looks at Duvernay and says, hey, you know your father wouldn't let that take place. He would have let these niggas dead. Then he looks over at Doug and says, if that would have happened to your son, wouldn't you not want that person dead? Which is fucked up as that logic is, it does raise an excellent point. Now they gotta go talk to Paulie themselves. And there he is. You know what? We just gonna call him Paul for short. Anyway, he finds his son roaming around in the building. And he tells his son, you gotta grow up to be a good boy. You know what I'm saying? You don't wanna be a bad boy. Because, you know, you have people like me that are trying to cut off your ears or nose and shit. So right off the back, you can tell what kind of fucked up character Paul is. So finally, after all that, they dip out. He goes to drop off Jack where Ursula's been waiting for him. Because Jack spends his time at a horse camp when he's not doing schooling. And she's like, where the fuck you been? And he keeps dodging the questions. She's like, look, this life isn't you. You gotta get about this shit, man. You already know we trying to get about this town for real. You can tell he's hearing her, but he's not really listening. So back at the bar, these niggas talking about how they gonna catch Flanagan slipping. And Duvernay, for some reason, is not feeling like he gets the respect he deserves. So he just starts a fight with this guy, just breaks a bottle over his head. I'm like, the fuck? And then Doug starts fighting, he's fucking people up. Later on, they park by this abandoned subway cart. They chilling in the subway, snorting coke and whatnot, which he's basically forcing Doug to do. They start talking about this guy named Ironside, but then they're like, if he's in a wheelchair, how can he be called Ironside? It's a random ass conversation. Then he makes him sniff some more dope. After that, they go to the bar, and he spots Ursula with the horse instructor, more than friends. As they're talking, you get this ominous feeling. You feel like Doug wants to beat the shit out this horse instructor. But then Duvernay shows up, and he takes him in the bathroom to talk about more plans on Flanagan. You could just feel like Doug's about to snap. So it's nighttime, we catch Flanagan walking still all fucked up, and right behind him was Doug. Doug makes him strip down over there by the cliff. He picks up a big ass rock, and he's basically just gonna end this nigga. Next thing we see is him walking around the ocean while the sun comes up. Did he finish him? What happened? Back in the car, Doug tells Duvernay that he killed him. Yep, he told him Flanagan's dead as shit. Duvernay lets him know, like, look, you gotta lay low for a couple days, man. Later on, as he's laying on his bed, we get to see what really happened with Flanagan. He told Flanagan to get the hell out the country and don't ever come back. So he didn't kill him. He better not hope Paul finds out. Next day, he goes and checks up on everybody. So seeing how he's laying low, this is like the perfect time for him to get his son. He asks Duvernay for the car keys and he heads out. Yeah. First thing he does is head over to Ursula to see how she's doing. Of course, they're at the horse farm. And the instructor actually gets him to ride a horse. They're having fun at his expense. So there you go. Horse time and shit. So they go out to get something to eat at a diner, you know, get some hamburgers and whatnot. You can tell he's trying to be there for his family. And you know he wants to tell her everything, but he's struggling with all that. She's like, look, you gotta find some way to get away from these guys. Later on, they put the boy Jack to sleep. Spending quality time and all that. Next day, everybody's having a party. They're celebrating Charlie's birthday, but Charlie doesn't really feel like celebrating for, you know, obvious reasons. After that, Duvernay, Doug, and Hector are all in the room by themselves, and they're talking about Flanagan's a piece of shit. They go in on him. Hector's just glad the job was done, right? Next day, he takes Jack to the carnival. Everything's all fine at first until they get to the shooting range. He tries to get Jack to shoot, but Jack don't want to touch the gun. He tries to get him to stop crying. He tells him to shut up. I'm like, come on, man. Then he bites him. Then he drops him back off at the nanny's house. Meanwhile, he's still screaming. I mean, damn, Douglas, that's fucked up. It makes you wonder how long he's been out of his life. I'm pretty sure he's feeling fucked up as a dad. So he goes back over to Duvernay. They start talking about some money for something. Then all of a sudden, Ursula comes banging on the door. She's like, Doug, what the fuck is wrong with you, yo? He tries to tell her he's sorry, but he's like, nah, he's got to handle some business. She's like, Doug, this ain't you, man. You got to get away from these niggas, man. You can tell she still loves him because, you know, she knows he's being manipulated, but at the same time, she's got to think about her kid. So now they hop in the car, and they head over to Paul's spot. Oh boy, shit about to get real. So Paul gives this story about how his dog loves to eat dead wasps for some reason, but apparently he ate a live one and the dog's tongue is all messed up. Talk about not having a choice but having to put the dog down. This conversation feels like it can go left at any second. So they go around back, and as he's about to put one of his dogs down, one out of two, they notice there's blood on the ground already. But it's still dripping though, so whose blood is it? Holy shit, it's Flanagan. To put it basically, Paul found Flanagan alive, which means Doug did not do his job in killing him. So how do you think Paul took this shit? Yeah, not good. And Doug's over here trying to apologize for lying, but Duvernay's like, yo, shut the fuck up, yo. So Paul hands Duvernay a gun and orders him to kill Doug. Oh, shit. The thing is, he doesn't do it. He tells Doug to run. Doug runs to get in the car. Paul hits Duvernay, he starts attacking, starts shooting, high-speed chase. He ducks around the corner and gets hidden for the time being. But he did get shot in his stomach in the process, or on his side. I don't know who he calls right here, but he should have called his wife and kid, his baby mother and his kid. He knows for a fact, if they can't find you, they're gonna come after them. I think he called Duvernay first to see if he was still alive. Well, anyway, he tapes himself up, drives off at night, and heads over to Hector's house. He said, let me in, I got the hammer, nigga. No, a legit hammer, nigga. See, there you go. He be hammering niggas. Well, anyway, they all about to sit down for some tea. Well, she calls it a toddy. So, yeah. He tells him the situation, and he's like, look, man, I need some money, yo. He's like, matter of fact, I need all the money up in here, you know what I'm saying? But the money's not for him, it's for his kid. So at this point, he's like, enough of the games. Like, where the money? I'm breaking your fingers. Then he gets a call from Duvernay. Duvernay's like, look, man, just tell me where you at, or, you know, Paul will come for your wife and kid. Realizing he doesn't have much of a choice to save his family, he tells him he's at Hector's house. The lady's still talking to him, then she recognizes who he is. She's like, yeah, you're that boxer from years ago. She tells him, look, man, stolen money is not going to help their situation or yours. At this point, his wound is reopened and he's been bleeding out anyway. So he comes to the conclusion, like, fuck the money, yo, just take this shit, like, just get up out of here, because somebody's coming. He makes sure everybody's out and he's in there by himself. Lying on the couch bleeding, he talks to Ursula one last time. I felt like he was still hiding some things away in the conversation, but he did get to tell her he was sorry and that he loved her. And he was like, tell Jack I see him soon. And after he hangs up the phone, the last thing we see of Jack, we see Doug slumped over. The shadowy figure in the background, obviously, that's Paul. And then we get a montage of Ursula and Jack actually learning sign language. As she's driving in the car, we can pretty much tell she knows what happened to Doug. And the last scene is her and her son at the playground chilling at the school that they wanted to go to. That's some ill shit for you right there, man. Shadow of Violence on Netflix. Check it out. Like, click, subscribe, do all that. You already know what it is. Slick, DZ, LDZ, Mr. Big. You the goddamn slogan.